Hello family, welcome back to another YouTube video. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Lucy Brown. I truly do hope that you enjoy the content and enjoy this video. And if you do indeed enjoy this video, please make sure that you consider becoming part of the family by subscribing to my channel. As you've seen from the title of the video, today we are talking about my first 6 months in marriage. And I just thought to myself, should I, shouldn't I, shouldn't I? Because there's so many people's stories or people giving their testimony about their first 6 months or their first year in marriage. But we're particularly speaking about the first 6 months in marriage. And it's always, or I've always heard heaven on earth, that the experiences are heaven on earth. The first 6 months of marriage is great and all beautiful and all of those things. But for me, it was a different story, a totally different story. It was so hard and so challenging. It was really hard for me. And the hardness or the challenging part of it for me was the adapting to now living together. And don't get me wrong, like living together is beautiful, it is awesome, and I believe that it offers a different sort of comfort or a different sort of support in your union or in your relationship. But it comes with additional challenges and it comes with additional difficulties. And though it is said that when you enter into a marriage, you should be 100%, or both parties should be 100%, I don't know about that because I just think to myself, is it possible for people to be at 100% because we are forever growing? I don't know. But I get the gist of the saying. But this is to say that you might be whole human beings as individuals, but you guys aren't perfect, right? And I think that's where the true challenge came for me in my first 6 months of marriage. Well, let's get right into the video. Again, if you haven't subscribed at this point, please make sure that you subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, and if you want to be notified whenever I upload a new video, hit or smash the notification bell so that you get notified. Men and women are different. Men and women are extremely different. And I'm sure this won't come to you as a shock, because the differences between men and women are usually discovered during or at some point during dating. But the differences are exposed, or actually more exposed, as a newly wedded or as a newly married couple. For me, I quickly found out that yes, I knew that there were differences in the way I preferred to be loved and the way my husband, my then boyfriend, preferred to be loved. But once we were in marriage, guys, there's just something about marriage that just uncovers another layer to a person or to people or to a relationship holistically. The first challenge that I had in my 6 months of marriage was communication. Everyone talks about how important communication is and all of that. And yes, at some point in our dating life, we had spoken about communication. There's something about communication style, especially when you guys are living together. And not only mismatched communication style, unsaid or unspoken expectations of one another. I just always felt that some things are obvious for me, right? For instance, I would clean the whole house and be like, it's obvious, you should offer to help. I'm not going to ask you to help me, you should offer to help. For me, in my head, it was a given. It was like, it's obvious. Like if you see someone doing something or cleaning the house, you should offer and not just, So what would happen is that I would clean and then see that there's no help that's been offered, not only in cleaning, with a lot of things. I'm just specifically making an example with this one because it's the most common one, right? So I'd go ahead, clean, and then think to myself, isn't this person going to ask me like, babe, can I help you? Babe, where can I? That type of thing. And he wouldn't. And that would get me mad, guys. That would get me so upset. And all of a sudden, I'm like I'm just not in the mood. I'm upset. I don't want to talk. And then he'd be like trying to make some sort of communication with me. And then he'd be like, are you fine? Are you not okay? In my head, I'm like, do I look fine? Do I look okay? if you were in my shoes, would you be okay, sir? So I'd bottle my frustrations with my uncommunicated or unsaid or unspoken expectation that he was meant to help me, right? And it started to create some sort of resentment inside of me that I'm doing most of the work and you aren't helping. And I felt that the fact that you aren't offering meant that you didn't want to help. Till it got to a point where, come on, it was just like too much, and it just came out. And when it all came out, it really weren't pretty. It really weren't pretty. But I eventually learned that you can't have unsaid or unspoken expectations and expect the next person to read your mind. If you want help, communicate and say, I need help, or can you help me with A, B, and C? It's an unhealthy thing to have expectations of the next person without communicating your expectations to them. On his end, he would feel like, I thought that you actually didn't need help. I thought that if you needed help, you'd actually speak up. So the mismatched communication in the fact that I expected him to read my mind, like, who reads minds? Only God reads minds, right? And in him also saying that I expected you to actually voice it out, and the fact that maybe you aren't voicing it out meant that you didn't need help. The mismatched communication is actually the issue for me in my first 6 months of marriage, and it created so much frustration in me. Like, it was not cute. It was bad. And the thing is, the frustration was beginning to make me a different person. I could feel and I could sense that I was becoming a different person. I was forever grumpy. I made a fuss of every little thing because of the resentment that was starting to build up inside of me. The second one was unexpected habits, like just weird habits that were just drastically different from me. And when you come into that type of setup where you guys are basically trying to merge your lifestyles together, friction is bound to happen, right? And there's just a level of self-righteousness where you feel that your habits or your weird and nasty and funny habits that you have should be tolerated, and that he should find them cute. But when it comes to his weird habits and all of that, all of a sudden it's a problem for you. So there was a level of self-righteousness where I felt that yes, I do have weird habits. We all have weird habits, right? I had weird habits and I expected my weird habits to be accepted. But when the roles were turned, I'd make a fuss of the weird habits that I encountered. Habits like leaving your socks around, right? And what is it with men and the amount of time that they spend in the toilet? And I know I'm not the only one who complains about this, because I've heard it, I've read about it. I'll never get that one. But that is just to say that with the first few months of marriage, I quickly realized that I needed to exercise a level of patience and grow in my patience as well, right? Not only even growing in my level of patience, but understanding that I'm not perfect, that I have habits that I've been accepted for, and that I should extend the same grace as well. I realized that in as much as I'm in need of a whole lot of grace, that I too need to also extend a whole lot of grace. A wise person once said, I really don't know who said this, but a wise person once said, pick your battles. And that is so true. Here I was making a fuss out of leaving your socks around, out of all these things. And the funny thing is that my husband is so patient. I don't know, he's just got tons and tons of patience within him. I truly need to grow in that, and I've learned so much from him in that area of just extending grace and being patient. Here I was making a fuss out of literally everything. But the more you grow, you start to realize and you start to prioritize peace in your life. Not only peace in your life only, but peace in your home. You just want peace in your home, and you want your home to be a place of peace for yourself, for your husband, and your kids, if you do have kids, or the kids that you are to have in the future. And in order for you to have peace in your life and to have peace in your home, you've just got to be selective with the type of battles that you are going to fight, right? Some things are really not worth the fuss. Like, just pick up those socks and just put it in the washing basket, or just take that toothbrush or whatever it is. Or if I leave my makeup brushes, like, just take the makeup brush and just pick your battles for the sake of peace in your home. Number 3, upbringing differences. You will soon realize that the both of you are individuals coming from 2 different families, 2 different backgrounds, and you'll soon realize that you guys were raised differently. There's a different way he chooses to clean, a different way I choose to clean, a different way I cook, a different way he cooks. And the fact that we are both different in our upbringings, it does not necessarily mean that the one way is wrong and the other one isn't. It might mean though that there might be one of the 2 that's much more suitable for the type of situation that you guys are coming into. So yes, the 2 of you are coming from 2 different backgrounds. You have been brought up differently, and now you guys are about to merge those 2 worlds into one in whatever way it might look like. And at times it even means that we need to eliminate certain things that we were brought up to do, certain thinking patterns, certain speaking patterns that we need to eliminate that might have seemed right from the way we were brought up, but might not be necessarily conventional for the type of situation that you guys are in, or for the type of family or environment that you guys really want to cultivate. I was brought up in a very different setup and environment from my husband, and there were certain things that I was brought up thinking they're okay. For instance, in the type of household that I grew up in, our parents always shouted. Like, they always made a noise about literally everything. So you grow up with that thing in you that you're going to fuss about everything, you're going to make a noise about everything. Like, I was not brought up in a type of environment where we settle our differences in a calm way, or in a way where we sit down and we talk it out, right? I was brought up in an environment where at that time you say what's on your mind at that time, and that's that, period. But when you come into a marriage, and especially dealing with a type of person who does not come from a background like that, you soon realize that it's not a way of living, right? You soon realize that a person who comes from a different background from that type of situation might not appreciate the way you talk and the fact that you want to deal or address things there and there. There is a level of wisdom in knowing when to address things and how to address things. Those are very important. And if you do love your spouse, and because you do love your spouse, you then realize that there's a lot of unlearning that you need to do, that you need to learn how to communicate in better and healthier methods. You look at yourself and you're like, yeah, I'm not happy in the way I deal with situations and the way I communicate. You look back and you think to yourself, I didn't actually even appreciate it when my parents spoke to me in this type of way. And then you think to yourself, that's not the type of environment that you want your kids to grow up in, because you've seen what it has done to you, and you just don't want that type of behavior to be passed on to your kids as well. And hence then there's a level of growing, unlearning that you need to do, and a lot of development, self-development, right? That's one area in my first 6 months of marriage that I realized that I really truly needed to grow in. My manner of speaking and my manner of communicating. And it truly did take a lot of hard work. Any type of growth, right, takes a lot of hard work. Any type of growth is not easy, especially something that has sort of like been engraved inside of you, where you were brought up this way, right? So it did take a lot of time and a lot of hard work. Number 4, I discovered in my first 6 months of marriage how easily irritated I was. And as I'm mentioning these things and actually speaking about them, I realize that there aren't things that I am proud of. And I know very much that there might be people as well who might be struggling with these things who were struggling with these things. But it's all to say that we aren't perfect, and that is okay. We should acknowledge that we aren't perfect, but it should not just stop there, right? There needs to be growth, right? You just need to grow from your areas where you lack, or your areas of improvement. You just need to grow in them and become a better person for yourself, a better person holistically. And the funny thing is, before I was married, I actually thought I was a person of patience. I actually thought, I used to describe myself when people used to ask me rather, describe yourself. I used to say, I'm patient, up until I discovered that, nah. I mean, how do you can only call yourself a patient person unless you've been in trying situations that tried your patience, right? You can only say you're a person who walks in love unless you've been in situations that where it made sense for you not to love. So if you call yourself a person of patience, your patience has to be tried. If you call yourself a person of love, that you walk in love, your love has to be tested, improved. And then once it has been tested and proved, then after can you then qualify to call yourself those things. So my patience obviously was in an area of people who were distant from me. I was living alone until we got married and started staying together. And that's truly where the true test came about. And I mean, there was so much changes that had been going on in my life at that point. And already with marriage, you come into marriage and there's a whole lot of change. I've spoken about my change from switching from one church to another. If you haven't watched that video, please make sure you go and watch that video. My change of moving from one church to another, I had to switch back to a different province. So there's just so much change in my life, and it tested me on so many levels. But again, I am so grateful and so thankful for my spouse and for my husband, because his level of patience, if the roles were reversed, I'm not sure if I would have passed the test or endured such a short-tempered, if I can put it in that way, or easily irritated person like I was. But yeah, my first 6 months of marriage was almost like someone putting a magnifying glass on my life in terms of my character and my being as a whole. And I quickly realized that I fall short of so many things. I'm far from who and what God has called me to be, and that I had so much work to do on myself, and that if I was to cultivate a healthy, or participate rather, in a healthy marriage, a healthy home, there was characteristics that I truly needed to leave behind, and characteristics about myself that I needed to grow from, in order for me, and in order for us, and in order for our marriage to reach a place where we were truly happy with the state of our beings holistically. Point number 5, marriage is hard. And I'll tie point number 5 to point number 6. But marriage is hard, and I realized that very soon, that marriage is incredibly hard, guys, that it takes so much of hard work, and that it's not something that I can pull all on my own, or pull off a successful marriage all on my own. Neither can my husband. It truly requires 2 people to walk together, and walk together with a mindset to constantly want to serve one another. In marriage at times, or should I say in my first 6 months of marriage, I realized that I can be quite selfish, that I had a tendency of wanting to put myself first. And when you constantly want to put yourself first, it's basically you saying that I'm putting myself first, and whatever the person's needs are will come secondary. But there's something beautiful about a union where both parties are actively putting the other person first. Obviously, if the one party is putting the other person above themselves, but the other person is prioritizing themselves, then obviously the one party gets to benefit out of the union, and then the other party is then left dry. But if the both of you are consciously and continuously working at putting each other's needs first, where I just want to serve you and you just want to serve me, like there's no one that can convince me that there's nothing beautiful about a union that is set up in that way. And to just move yourself from the place of selfishness to a place of serving, of constantly serving and putting the next person before your own needs, or putting the person's needs before your own, and while they're doing the same, the process is incredibly difficult. Point number 6. Yes, it is hard. Point number 5, but point number 6, it is so rewarding and so worth it. Yes, there's no denying that it is hard, but it is worth it. When you're going through the phases of learning and unlearning things and going through difficulties with your character, with your characteristics and things that you need to learn from, it's tough. But once you get to the end result where now you can communicate better, the peace that just comes with the reward of working hard is just, it's unexplainable. Money cannot buy it. You can't find it on the internet. It's not something that you easily find. Yes, we might say that it might be easy for some people to get married or to decide to get married. As some people say that marriage is not an achievement. And yes, marriage might not be an achievement, but a happy marriage, guys, that is an achievement. Happy marriage is something that you can be proud of. Yes, people might be married, but the question is, and the real work comes into having a happy marriage and sustaining happiness, peace, and joy in your marriage and in your home. That is something to ponder on, and that is something that I will forever hold in my heart, that yes, marriage might not be an achievement, but building a happy marriage and building a happy home is something that I will continuously work at. Well, that was a mouthful. I truly hope that you enjoyed this video. That was my experience on my first 6 months of marriage. Do leave a comment down below and tell me, what did you think of this video? Make sure that you like the video as well. If you have not subscribed, please make sure that you click the subscribe button down below. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed this one, and see you in the next one.